Okay, so there are 3 types of experiments that we need to know about. The first one we've already talked about, which is a completely randomized design. Now, what does completely randomized mean? That means if we have 100 people, half get a treatment, half typically will get a placebo or just some sort of control, and then we will have some sort of results, which ends up being our response variable, right? So 50 treatment, 50 placebo. Now, the important thing is that this step right here, this is what's randomized. We do not just select, all guys or everybody in this class. That's 8th period. You get this treatment. Everybody in my 1st period class, you get another treatment, okay? No, we want to randomly give people treatment. That way we can kind of, not have to worry about as many lurking variables, like time of day when you're doing this treatment, like anything else that you could think of that might affect data, okay? This is why we randomly assign things, okay? But the 2 other types of experiments that we will talk about that you need to know about are block and matched pairs. Okay, we're going to start with block. Block experiment. A block design divides subjects into groups called blocks. All the subjects in the block should be similar. Now, how do we typically divide them into groups? Well, we can divide them by age, by gender, by height, by whatever. Something that is defining, that might give us more information that would be interesting to analyze. Then from each block, we will randomly assign the treatment. This is done if we think certain blocks will get certain results or different results than other blocks. But it's just doing a completely randomized design. This is our completely randomized design for an experiment for each block. So let's go back to that first one. We start out with 100 people. What we would then do is we'd say, 50 guys, you're in one group. 50 girls, you're in another group. It doesn't have to be 50. It would just be the guys and the girls. However many guys there are, put them in a guy group. There could be, maybe more females than males. So maybe there's 40 guys and 60 girls. It doesn't matter. They don't have to be the same. We just start out with 100 volunteers, but then we split them into groups. Now, what happens after this step is we then assign randomly the treatment and the placebo to each group. So here I would say, 20 of you, you're going to get the pill, the treatment. 20 of you are going to get the sugar pill, the placebo. Of the girls, we would randomly assign 30 of them to get the medication and 30 of them to get the placebo. Then we'd be able to look at the results for each of the groups, and then we'd be able to look at the overall results. So for a medication, we could talk about, blood pressure. Did the blood pressure go down or up based on this pill? We can look at how this pill affects the blood pressure for males compared to a placebo. We can see how this pill affects the blood pressure for females. I don't know why I said girls and males. And then we can look at just overall blood pressure results. We have one extra layer of data that we can analyze, which is why we do blocks. females. This step is what makes the block. Okay, any questions about that? It's pretty straightforward, right? It's kind of like when we talked about stratified random sampling, but not really. Okay, strata because we're going into groups. This block groups. Okay, stratified random sampling was when we just pulled certain people from different kind of locations or from urban versus suburban versus rural. We made sure we sampled all of those areas rather than just completely randomly. Blood pressure. I said blood pressure, and blood pressure is our, response variable, whatever it may be.
I guess the difference between the two would also be that with stratified, the people are all still randomly chosen to be in those groups, whereas the block,
they're volunteers. Exactly.
Similarities between them, like height or gender or whatever, a bit of category.
Yes, and we start out with our group. Maybe we start out with whatever, but these are our volunteers. We're going to not take a sample of these. Everybody's going to be a part of the experiment. Right. Okay. Cool. Now, remember these little kids with their little weights? We talked about it last class, okay? I want you and your neighbors to think of a way that you can block design this experiment that we talked about last class, where we had little kids either doing heavy weightlifting, heavy weights, low reps, moderate weightlifting, which was less weight but more reps, or a control group, which is no lifting weights, okay? How could we block this? Discuss it with your neighbors.
We even do no weight.
100 kids, whatever.
Skills 1 to small.
43. There's 43 kids. 43 kids.
Yeah, the big kids in one group and you have the little kids in the other group. And then,
What do you guys think? Good. I like it. All right, what do we have for ideas? What are some ways that we could block this experiment instead of putting all kids into either heavy, moderate, or none? Ms. Paulson, what's one?
We talked about splitting into
Age groups. That is very smart. So we could have older kids versus younger kids. Is there a difference in the results of older versus younger? Any other ideas?
female and male.
Yeah, right, female or male. Maybe males will respond differently than females. That's something we can say. Anything else? Yeah, we can go by the size of the kid. Maybe bigger kids will have different results than smaller kids. We can split them up that way. Any other ideas? Pretty much like the defining characteristics of what makes a child are good ways to block things out. In this situation, not saying this is the right way to do it, but in this example, they split them up by age. Now, they happen to have an even amount of kids age 5 to 10 and 11 through 16. This is not required, okay? It is nice that they have this, but if you have 43 volunteers and you have like 10 here and 33 here, I mean, that's just what you're going to have. It's great if we have even numbers because then we can split them up evenly and then we have the same amount of overall results that we can look at. But just like you said, you can block by heights, by weights. You can block by males and females. Whatever you want to do, that would be right. But just make sure you have this extra step before you randomly assign, okay? You don't have to have this block here, this random assignment. You go straight from the 21 children, split them up evenly. 7 get this, 7 get this, 7 get that. Down here with the older children, 7, 8, 7, okay? Then we can measure and compare the strength for the younger and the older, and then we can also look at the overall results. We can combine those results to say, overall, children ages 5 to 16 showed this, okay? Cool? That's blocks. Next one, matched pair. There are two types of matched pair designs. Either you start with your 100 people, you try to get one person and the most similar person to that person in your 100 people, you match them up. Okay? So, match them up by height, by weight, by whatever. But you would try to match them up. If you had two identical twins, that'd be perfect. Grab those two people. Okay? And then what you would do after you have your matched pair is you'd give one the treatment and one would be a part of the control. And then you'd have results where you can say, you know, we looked at the same type of person and this was the result one way, or this was the result of the other way. This is uncommon for matched pair, matching them up by, you know, these specifics, these characteristics. A more common matched pair design is this. The same individual receives both treatments. This is the one that is used more often. Instead of trying to match up somebody with their, you know, physical equivalent, their mental equivalent, whatever it is, instead, just have one person be the control and the person receiving the treatment. So, if I were to take a group of 100 volunteers, well, we would kind of split them up into two groups. We first would take 50 people and other 50 people, but it doesn't matter who they are. We could kind of block them if we wanted to. If we wanted to block them, sure. This 50 people would receive the placebo first, and then they would receive the treatment second, the pill second. The other 50 people would receive the treatment first and the placebo second. That way, we can kind of flush out any, oh, this happened first. That's why we saw this result. We try to randomize so half of the people got the treatment first, half the people got the placebo first, and then we switch. And then we would just look at a results for each person and how they compared. Okay, we can go to like the Gatorade example. The Gatorade example is a great matched pair experiment that we did right before class. We want to see if people run faster on Gatorade or it makes no difference. Well, say one practice day, 30 minutes before the race, everybody drinks Gatorade, we run. Well, actually half the people are drinking Gatorade and half the people are drinking, you know, water, and then they run. Maybe 4 days later, after they've had enough time to recuperate, we switch. If you drank the Gatorade, now you drink the water. If you drink the water, now you drink the Gatorade, and then you run. And then you're able to compare your times like that. And that could be a better way instead of just taking these 50 people and these 50 people, half got Gatorade, half of it. Maybe it's better to look at things individually, right? Does that make sense? That's the matched pair. You get both things. You get the placebo, you get to look at your results from the placebo, and then you get the treatment, and you get to look at your results. You get the best of both worlds. All right. Yes?
About the last meeting, would that be, like, if the results be kind of messed up the second time, because if they had the treatment first, would they be, like, better the second time than what they treatment?
That's why we have to do it both ways, because I don't know. I don't know if the treatment is going to help me or not. So getting the treatment first maybe will make a difference than getting the treatment second.
So you have the treatment first, and then you get the placebo, placebo
Well-
is helping because the treatments aren't helping? Like,
Well, here's the key. You don't know what you're getting, right?
okay.
So I'm giving you, here's pill number A. Now, go see if you have a headache the rest of the day. Okay? And you'd be like, I didn't have a headache. Okay? 3 days later, here's pill number B. Let's see if you have a headache. And you say, I don't have a headache, you know? So it's like all of a sudden, or maybe, yeah, I did have a headache. Well, maybe the pill number A that you got was the placebo. And all of a sudden, there's no difference. You know, you don't know what you're getting, so you don't know if it's an actual treatment or a placebo. That's the key. And that's why we randomize things. We say, you're going to get 2 things, one this week and one the other week. We'll compare your results and see if there's, first of all, any difference. And the second of all, is it the right difference? Is it the difference because of the pill that's the actual medication? Or was it just in your brain and you actually felt better because you got a placebo? You know what I'm saying? Does that make sense to everybody? Okay. Go back to the kids with the weights and the lifting. Could you design something that is matched pair for these kids? Talk about that with your neighbors.
Same individual who receives both different treatments, those that one switch.
All right, what do we think? Put your phone away. Ideas. Just commentary on this situation.
You could match kids in the different groups, like by height, by weight, by gender,
Mm-hmm.
and measure them against each other. One doing the high rep, one doing low rep.
Mm-hmm.
So I think that you could do like one individual kid because it's over time.
I like that, Ms. Paulson. It's really tough to do one individual kid and to have that kid do all 3 without the first thing that they do affecting the second thing that they do, affecting the third thing that they do. Am I right? Yeah. So in this situation, unless, Ms. Shaw?
Well, what we were talking about is like, did it say there was like a time limit on it?
No?
Well, because what we discussed is having like one kid do it like the heavyweight for a year and then taking a year off and then doing the moderate weight and then taking a year off and then doing like the no weight.
Well, what could affect that, though? Age, right? You're getting older, and all of a sudden, since you're older, maybe being older will affect your result.
Getting children about the same age and height and weight, you could get them with one being the heavyweight, one with a lighter weight.
Good. That was that original matched pair design that we were talking about that Ms. Paulson and Mr. Polkowski talked about. Assigning 2 matched individuals, one over the other. I think in this situation, that's the kind of matched pair we're thinking about. Get 2 people that are similar height, weight, even gender, and then 1 or 3 really. One's going to do heavy, one's going to do moderate, one's going to go low. I would say that would be the best design. Let's see what they said. No, they went heavy load for 6 weeks, rest 2 weeks, moderate load for 6 weeks. No, I'm saying this is bogus. I like what you guys are saying. You guys are saying, I would say pick, you know, it would be 21 matched people. Well, it'd be even less. So dividing into 3, that would be like, what, 14? Anyways, we'd have matched up individuals. Matched individuals. What? Yeah, that says individuals. Match?
Wasn't it like, some big two were coughing and some big cough.
So,
Oh.
the first time I golfed for real,
Matched individuals getting the heavyweight, matched individuals getting the control group, and matched individuals giving the medium. That's the only way I could think this would work out, because like lifting weights, and if we have these weeks off, all of a sudden, you know, things could be different. So I don't know, maybe this will work, but I'd prefer the other way. All right, let's think about this experiment and which type we would use. We have a question: is the right hand of right-handed people generally stronger than the left hand? Paul Murky of Murky Research designs an experiment to test this question. He fastens an ordinary bathroom scale to a shelf 5 feet from the floor, with the end of the scale projecting out from the shelf. Subjects squeeze the scale between their thumb and their fingers on the top. A scale which reads in pounds will be used to measure hand strength. What type of experiment would you do? Discuss with your neighbor. Go.
You would do these
All right, what do we say? What do you think, Miss Napier? No. You don't know? No?
I guess it said like the matched pair.
Okay, how so? Mr. Wynn?
So we said like having the same individual match pair because we're assuming that the compared variable is like which hand you're using to squeeze the scale. So it's the same person using both hands. They're already like all these launches are already right-handed, so we can see if the person's right or left hand is strong.
That's what I would do. I would do the same individual doing both their right and doing their left. Now, would we want every single person to do their right first and then their left second? No. So what would be important is to randomly assign which hand went first, okay? Because who knows, maybe it's you exert all of your energy on your first one, and then the second one you're tired to do. What could be another reason why that could be bad, Mr. Pepe? What could be another thing in the experiment that we'd want to kind of prevent people from seeing or doing that could affect the results? How can you cheat? That's a good thing. Yeah, right? So they get up there and they say, oh, I'm definitely stronger, or I'm as strong with my left side than I am with my right side. I try to even things out when I work out, all right? So you're squeezing really hard with your left, and you're not squeezing as hard with your right. And you're like, there you go. See? I'm perfect. Even. All right? So that could be an issue. How could you figure out if you have the similar readings, though, with your right or with your left?
Well, you had it set up to where like when you squeeze it, like the monitor is facing away from you towards the experimenter, so they can adjust it like that.
That's very smart. We shouldn't have the people be able to see what they're reading. Okay, excellent. Keep your phone away, Mr. Pepe. Okay. Could you have a block and matched pair experiment all at the same time? Yeah. Give me an example, Mr. Frida.
You block people and put them in maybe by race. They could also be matched because they kind of look alike.
Yeah, so we can have like 100 people, then all of a sudden we can go maybe males, 50 males, 50 females, they're blocked there, and then after they're blocked That way, then you can say, okay, of you males, 25, you're going to get the treatment, then the placebo. 25, you are going to get the placebo, then the treatment. And then the females, you can do the same thing. 25, you'll do treatment, then placebo. The other 25, I don't know why I keep doing extra lines. Placebo, then treatment. So, okay. So that's ideas. You can do something like that. Another type of experiment, an agronomist, sure, wishes to compare the yield of 5 corn varieties. The field in which the experiment can be carried out increases in fertility from north to south. So we got a field. Here's our field. And this is kind of like the best ground for growing stuff. And this is like the worst ground for growing stuff. I got the yield of 5 corn varieties. The yield means like how much corn is growing from each seed. Okay, discuss what you would do for an experiment like this. Go. Yeah?
Vertical column, I would have never thought of that. Yeah, I know.
All right, so Mr. Zantua, did you discuss this? Do we have an answer? What do you think? You'd block it. And how would you block it? So yeah, we'd have maybe a section in the north. And what would we do with that section? Right, randomly assign within this the yield. So 1, 5, 4, 3, 2. And then in the south, we can randomly assign the things like that. Now, this is a great way to look at it and to make sure that you are randomly assigning things and seeing if, seed number 4, if it grows best here, does it also grow best here? Well, you can go even further, and you could actually split it into 1, 2, 3, 4, like 5 sections. 5 sections and 5 different types of corn, and all of a sudden, if you want to, you can randomly assign this, and then just make sure that they have different ones each time, like that. And then if it all works out, well, that's not different, silly. If it all works out, you can then compare. Again, I'm bad at this game.
I mean, it's random.
It's random, but it isn't. We want to kind of maybe see if it's north to south and then also west to east. Might as well check everything. This assigns everything. Okay? We're going to do a taste test. Like next class, we're going to do a taste test. Okay? We're going to judge generic brands of certain items versus name brand brands of certain items. Now, I'm going to bring in 1 or 2 things to test. If you guys want to participate or help with the experiment, you can bring in your own items to share with the class to test. So, like Cheetos brand Cheetos or HEB brand Cheetos, right? You can do, last year we did Swedish Fish and some generic Swedish Fish from like Costco or something like that, okay? They look the exact same. It was incredible. Because that is something, okay? So it's going to be Monday. It's going to be Monday, 4th period. Might be a great way to be like, okay, it stinks that we're back in school after a weekend, but we get to do this, okay? Now, what type of experiment should we do for a taste test? Discuss. Here, I'll give you the options. I'm going to give you the options, okay? Here are the options. Ready? So we got completely randomized design. That means I will randomly give half of you the generic and half of you the name brand. You taste and then tell me what you think, okay? That's one. Second one, I get block it. The males, I'm going to separate you into a group, and then half of the males will get the name brand, half of you will get the generic, okay? And then the females, half of you get the name brand, half get the generic. We got matched pair, where each of you will get the name brand and the generic. You try one after the other. However, we need to randomize which one you try first, okay? Or we do matched pair. I try to match you up with your physical equivalent in this class, which would be tough to do in this class. And then with your physical equivalent, one of you will get the name brand, one of you will get the generic. Which one should I do? Discuss.
I like the one right.
It was like, we each get close, and then you explain the mind. Yeah, I like that one.
All right. Ms. Harris, what do you think?
The last one.
The last one, so I'm going to match you up with your physical equivalent. Give you either the name brand or the generic and the other person the other?
Actually,
No. Which one should I do then?
give us both.
Yes, I probably should give you both of them, and we should probably randomly assign whether you're getting choice A first or choice B first. And then we'll switch. We'll probably need like a palate cleanser, a sip of water. Okay, that way we aren't tainting our results. Okay, compare and our preference. We're going to probably rate from 1 to 10 how well it tastes. That way we can really decide if there is a huge difference. We'll also do a memory test. We're going to see if different personalities remember things better when we're presenting in two different ways. So I'm going to try to figure out, based on your personality, whether you are more talkative or like to be less talkative, if you can remember things that you see better than different things that you see, whether words or pictures, okay? So that's going to be kind of our judge. What should you do? Should we randomly assign you the task of remembering pictures or remembering words? Should we block it out so that the ones that have the talkative ones, half of you get the pictures, half of you get the words, and then the non-talkative, we split you up as well. Should we match you up with your physical equivalent or your talkative equivalent? That's what we'll do. So however much you talk, we'll kind of rate you. We'll match you up. One of you will remember things by looking at pictures. One of you will try to remember things by looking at words. We'll compare. And then the last one is you will remember things by looking at them, the words and the pictures, and we'll be able to kind of compare that to how talkative you are. Okay? Which one should we do? Discuss. Mr. Pepe, put your phone away. All right, Mr. Pepe, what do you think? What should we do? What's the second one? So, we're trying to see if you being more talkative or less talkative will affect your memory of pictures versus words. The second one was a block, where we split you up into talkative people and less talkative people, and then we randomly assign from there. Does that sound good? Yeah, I think it sounds good too. I think we should block you up into your two different groups and then go from there. Now, there are other ways to do things. What are other possible ways to conduct this experiment that people talked about? Any others, or did everybody just decide on block?
Yeah, block them up.
Okay, we could block them up, block you guys up, and then do a matched pair potentially. Depends on the words and how the experiment's set up. This won't be the fun one. We'll probably do this one first so that we can do the taste test one second, okay? But one's going to be a block, one's going to be a matched pair. That way we can experience both. Okay, we're not going to do this one. That's all I got. Your homework is a worksheet with some questions.
Or is the rest on textbook?
The rest is on the textbook.
You had me going there for a second, like, yes, we're going to work.
However, I believe for this worksheet, you will have space on the worksheet to provide your answers.
Okay, the last, what, was it 2 or 3 times?
There's only 3 questions from the book. Okay? You have 10 minutes to get a book out and do those 3 questions. I can zoom in. Let me get you your worksheet first. There we go. So, I would advise everybody get a book and do these 3 questions. Now, on the back of this worksheet, pay attention. You see numbers, also complete text. Well, don't complete all these, just these 3, 34, 35, and 42, okay? Do not complete all of them. Yes, just complete 34, 35, and 42. It does not say the page number, but we can find it. Yes, it's 34, 35, and 42. 3.343542.